every Monday night. Episode 7 tonight. We have Dr. Belinda Richardson George from Homer Drive Elementary and Beaumont ISD. Now, before we get this party started, I would love to see if people can hear us. We were amazing before. We had some words of wisdom. We solved some problems of the universe, but no one could hear us. So let me see if anybody chimes in and lets us know if they can hear. And I'm pretty sure we are good to go. All right. So here we go. Is Dr. George and I spoke. I'm going to say it was about a year and a half ago, and we talked on the phone. And since then, I've been kind of secretly following her. Following her career and the amazing things that happen over at Homer Drive Elementary and Beaumont ISD. And here's what I love. Here's what I love about what she has going on in her school, and everything about it is she is simply a representation of so many amazing, magical, heroic educators across the nation. And there's so many magical moments and phenomenal things happening for kids every day, and once in a while somebody gets noticed, and word spreads, and the story kind of takes hold, and kind of beat this wildfire of a story that starts spreading across the nation. And her school and what she has going on and her work has been highlighted, and it's been amazing. So Dr. George, let me ask you, when this whole thing, you're tucked in Tuesdays, when that whole thing started happening and there was attention and notoriety, what was that like?
It was exciting. The kids they don't think anything of me being famous. They think everybody's principal is just like me. I'm just doing the normal thing, which we are all famous. They just don't know it yet. But it was like having two jobs.
Yeah.
Tucked in is a job, and then there's me being principal. So it's actually a job every Tuesday. It takes me about a week to get ready for the next Tuesday on top of work. So it's exciting, but so rewarding.
Yeah. And so how did this idea come to you? So for people that are just tuning in, so Tucked In Tuesdays, you started reading books to your scholars. And I love that. And I've already caught myself, I almost said students, but I changed it to scholars. And how did that idea come to you?
So there's a Facebook group called Principals Leadership. And so in there's these fabulous principals. I was like, where do these people come
Yeah.
from? And all these ideas. And so there was a principal that had this idea that she would read to her kids. And so I thought I could do that, but I thought my kids won't come to the school. So then I thought I'm a little quirky, I haven't grown up mentally yet. And so I said, I'll wear pajamas, go Facebook Live, because we had just created a Facebook page, go Facebook Live and do it in front of the Christmas tree so I could see the kids kind of during the holidays without being intrusive in their
Mm-hmm.
homes. So I started with like 35 guests, mostly family, a few kids, and they could interact. I read by Michael Hall, and so they were able to interact. So that's how it started, and in February it just blew up from there.
Yeah. And then so from there was what was it local news that picked up on it first?
So there was Beaumont Enterprise, which is the local newspaper, wanted to do a story. And so I thought, okay, I don't know what the story is about, but they did a story. And then after they did a story, Channel 12 and Channel 6, local news did a story. So there's a reporter who I absolutely love, Mackenzie Hinkle, and she's Channel 12 News. So she came and did an interview at my school. And when she walked out, she said, your life's about to change forever. And I went, yeah, right. And she says, no, like seriously, after it airs here, I'm going to upload it to our sister stations and it'll go. So I thought, okay, because I really didn't understand how that worked. And so the next morning, my parents talked to me through the Facebook page, and I answer everybody who messages me. So she messaged me, and a lady, I went on the page to see if a kid possibly said there was a pajama day, and it really wasn't. The parent was calling, trying to confirm. So there was a lady that said, I just saw you on the news in Chicago. And I went, what? Because clearly I was not in Chicago. And so that's how I knew. So that day I'm telling my Peems clerk, Miss Turner, I said, look at all these people. Look, me Googling myself. Look. And then NBC Universal called from the Steve Harvey show, and they just wanted to show a clip.
Yeah.
And it's from there.
All right. Now here's what I've heard, and you tell me if this is true or not. I have a friend of mine who, for some wacky reason, he and his family was on Family Feud with Steve Harvey, and he told me that like what you think about Steve Harvey is about a tenth of the, like if you think he's super nice, he's 10 times nicer than you think he is. If you think he's funny, he's 10 times funnier than you think he is. And he says he's
So
bigger in person in every way than you can ever imagine.
he is. His the love around Mr. Harvey is amazing. So I when we went to the show, my husband is a fan, like a diehard fan. He doesn't miss anything. And so I went out and I sat on stage and Mr. Harvey was talking to his guests and he is hilarious. Like my husband's chest was hurting for 2 days.
Right.
He's hilarious. And so he sits on the stage and he asks me how to pronounce the city. I tell them we start this conversation. And he forgot that Smash was giving me $5,000 and he gave us 7,200.
Right.
And so we got the money and then I asked him to dance with me and he even sent us the clip. It's not live anymore, but he even danced with me and sent it so the people in Beaumont could see us dancing. So yes, he is really, really
I
nice.
love it. And then when you got back to school, what was the buzz like with the kids and the teachers and the parents community?
So my parents asking a lot of questions about the uniforms, the kids. One of the kids touched my heart because he said, "I've never had my clothes brought by a celebrity." I said, "Me either, honey, me either." And so the parents, they know how I am,
Yeah.
and so the kids see me on Michael Strahan, YouTube, Facebook. So they always come in and say, "I saw you on TV last night," but it happened a while back, but. The district, everybody was really supportive.
Yeah. And then from the is that where it started nationally with Steve Harvey? And then it went to, was it Good Morning
I did
America?
Steve Harvey first. No, actually, I did Michael Strahan and Sarah first,
Mm-hmm.
and Michael Strahan. But I got calls from almost every show. There is daytime, but because there's competition, you can't go on every show.
Sure. I get it. Yeah.
Um, Miss, I'm trying to think of her first name. President Bush's daughter, that's on Today's
Yep.
Show,
I can't think of it either.
Jenna
Yep.
Bush. They called her because she was just getting the fourth hour and she loved educators and she wanted me to do a story, but I couldn't because I was going somewhere else. But I really wanted to be on her show because I know how much she loves educators.
Yeah. The here's what I love about it, and here's my personal opinion about why it really kind of took hold, is because deep down inside, everybody walking around has a teacher, has an educator that they remember that is special to them, and they still remember to this day, and they still remember the tiny details about that person and about that class and how they interacted. So when they have a chance to connect with someone and see someone that is doing what they had in their life for someone else, it's powerful, and they want to share it with people.
Yes, my along the line, I had great educators. I was so blessed to have educators who saw something in me, even when I didn't always see it in myself.
Mm,
And I got into the ninth grade, I took environmental science, and teachers weren't so really cool then because they had to teach you so much structure in high school. But she's no longer in education. She, this is how I connected with this lady. Now you have to think I have a lot of quirks, but she told us that she had sanitized and sewer water and that she could drink it. And she took, well, we know now, raisins and put them in Coke and said it was poop. And so she drank it in front of us. And I thought, God, this is going to save the world, but it's gross.
right.
She told us, but that was her way of connecting because environmental science could be so boring. But I'll never forget her for that. Forget that because she touched with us something that we would connect to. I love that with educators.
Yeah. And for you growing up, when you were in school, did you come from a home in the background that was academically successful and supportive and all that?
Supportive, yes. My mom dropped out of school at 11th grade. My dad's father had polio, so he dropped out in the fifth grade. So he never learned to read, write, kind of self taught himself reading and writing a little bit. But my mom was really smart. I didn't realize she didn't go to school until we got much older because both of them were really smart. My dad figured everything out, but they constantly told us to go to college, that we needed to go to college. So they pushed us. So it's six girls and they pushed us all to go to college. So I went to college and I flunked out. I don't tell this much, but I flunked out of college because my mom was also very strict because she had six girls. So what did I do? I partied a lot.
Yeah.
Flunked out. And she told me when I went again, I would have to pay for it. So I joined the United States Army and got the MGI Bill, and that's how I started my education because I was determined.
I love that, for so many, just for not all of them, but for lots of educators, it's just been this, success after success, academically success. And that's just how they become teachers, because they're successful in school and it's fun and it's easy and they like it. And they go to college and it's fun and it's easy and they like it. But what I love is when, oftentimes some of the best educators that I come across are those that have had speed bumps and challenges along the way.
I took that teacher's test
Mm-hmm.
5 times.
Yeah.
5. And so I thought maybe it's not for me, but it's because I'm not a straight line kind of girl.
Yep.
For telling me to do the answers weren't really what I would have done in my school. And so I struggled with that, and I had to study to see what they said was the best process. So as educators, it's okay to veer off the rule. That's some of the best people.
Yeah. Now, when you were in the classroom, at what point did you start thinking about making that shift over to administration and school leadership?
My 4th year teaching, because I had this gift that I could calm kids that were upset. I could connect with parents. And I always, every time I said going beyond the 4 walls, I was like, if I could take this gift and put it beyond the 4 walls, this would be great. And that's what made me pursue my master's.
Yeah. And when you were teaching, what was the content area, the age group?
English language arts in fourth grade and science. And so I wanted to teach kinder, but my principal at the time, Mr. Hoyt Simmons, he kind of chuckled because I was doing tax and the kids were successful with writing.
Yeah.
But I taught 4th grade, but it was phenomenal to watch the growth and changes.
That's what I miss the most. I love my gig, of course, and I get to travel around and all that. But what I really miss is that being a part of the metamorphosis of kids and seeing, that daily shift and the shift over the weeks and months and, that 9 months that we have them, that it's, man, it's painful not to be, a part of that firsthand. And that's what teaching's all about.
Yes, I never lose it. I still go into classrooms. The content has changed a lot. So I'm one of those principals. I never tell teachers, you're doing it wrong because it's changing, it's constantly evolving. So, whatever my teachers do, best practices, I kind of watch and I'll guide along the way, but I never tell them that's not the way you teach that. I just let them teach it and then I'll add to it because it has changed. And if we don't go into classrooms, we won't realize the changes.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this, and I'm just curious what your opinion is. When I was in Beaumont, I spoke to a few of your teachers, and they talked about just what a special place that Homer Drive Elementary is for them, and they say it's unlike other elementary schools. And I'm wondering, like, as the principal there, what do you think it is about that campus that makes it such a special place for those teachers?
We all have ownership. I have a title principal, but that's not my role there. Because that school could run whether I showed up or not, honestly. And principals need to realize that the teachers are the meat of the schools. They just need someone to support, love, encourage them. And so my teachers know that. So even though I'm walking the halls and they are in control, I'm like a chaos coordinator, but my teachers just letting them be who they are. When they come to me and they say something and it sounds off wall and I see that hesitation, I tell them, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Because if they're willing to take that risk, just do it.
Yeah. That's the challenge. So often we talk about service leadership and what that, and it sounds great, but to really make that happen, everything sounds great in theory, but in reality, to make that happen, we're really serving our teachers in such a way that gives them everything they need, not just in terms of resources, but emotionally and intellectually and mentally and physically to nurture our kids. That's really what that leadership position is all about.
And if there's a teacher that's sad and I can see it or stressed, I have a couch in my office. Some of them come lay on there, some of them sit there. But if they want to cry, I let them cry. That's not a sign of weakness. That's just a sign that you're tired. We also have a mantra: you can't be burnt out if you were never lit. So everybody's working so hard. And when I see them wearing down, I try to reach out and see what they need. If they feel like talking, great. If not, great. But I'm always there. They can cry, they can come off as laugh, whatever they need. I just make sure I'm there for them emotionally as well, because it's tough. It's really tough.
It's really hard. And there was a post by a teacher in a school recently, and she was just reeling it, just really letting it all out emotionally and talking about how hard it is. And I what I loved is I left her a little voice message on the Facebook, let her know, like, the beauty of this job is there's direct indirect proportion in terms of the euphoria you feel when this thing is working and you're changing lives. The downside is equally at the bottom, is at the depth of that wave, and you have to be willing to accept that. Like, if there are going to be those high highs, the reason they're super high is because the trade-off is at times are going to be super lows.
I always tell my teachers the best days are when they're having the best day.
Yeah.
So you have principal, you have to make sure your teachers, I'm at the door, I'm greeting kids. If there's a kid that looks like they might just set it off, taking that kid before they get to the teacher, because that can ruin a teacher's day. And so I'm not perfect and I don't catch every kid, but I try my best to visit their home if there's an ongoing problem. But teachers have a really tough job. And the weekends, people always say they have the weekends off. Well, by the time mentally, you need 2 more days just to prepare.
Right. Yeah. We used to have a shirt, I saw at a school I was working at, and it said, "If you're not crying, you're not trying." Because like, that's just
well, I must be maxed out.
You're doing it. That's how you know you're doing it, right? Yeah.
And I cry in front of my staff all the time, and it's not weakness. It's from a place of passion. If I feel passionate about something and I try to explain it, I cry all the time. And it's weakness. I cry if I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm disappointed. I cry. But because I know with teachers, I'll never forget what it's like to be a teacher. Teachers promise never to forget what it's like to be a kid. And that's what I say all the time. Just never forget what it's like to be a kid. And then I'll never forget what it's like to be a teacher.
Yeah. I think the evidence is your pajamas you're wearing tonight is never forget what it's like to be a kid with your ears bouncing around.
And this is a bad because it's nowhere near Halloween, but everybody feels so batty.
Right.
Because those teachers are all from Thanksgiving, but you have those 2-3 weeks in between Christmas, some of them 4 weeks. And even though it's a short time, the shortest times are normally the most pressure, because kids are coming in during the holidays. They're excited. A lot of them are going with another relative for visitation. They haven't been before. So it's all kinds of things factoring in. Plus, we're trying to Christmas shop ourselves.
Yeah. In addition to that, I think sometimes we forget that as we're talking about making plans for Thanksgiving dinner, we've got loads of kids that just is not a reality in their home. And to hear people talk about going on vacation, and what they're thinking about is, I'm not going to get fed for this week. And we're talking about these big, elaborate meals we're planning. And these kids, a lot of kids, they've never had that experience.
No, I will tell you something. I will tell this story until the day I die about just learning different cultures. And I'm Black. I know that's a surprise, but I am. So, but even within my culture, there are shocks, there are surprises for me. And so there was a little boy in my office, and my assistant principal, her mom is Caucasian and her dad is Black. And she walked in, and the little boy's in the office, and the district counselor is there, and she's talking. And my AP walks in. She's beautiful, long, beautiful hair. She has it in a bun. She walks in, and the counselor says, "How's your bundle of joy?" And he falls on the floor laughing, like hysterically. And she looks at him and she goes, "Why are you laughing about my baby?" And so I looked at him and I said, "He's talking about bundles, weaves. He thinks she's asking about your weave."
Yeah.
And he says, "She asked you about your weave." Yeah. And no, bundle of joy. But even something so small, we have to be sensitive, because he wasn't insulting her. Yeah. And she didn't know what a bundle was. She had no needs. She had no reason to know. But just like when we're talking about those meals, I don't talk about what I'm going to do for Thanksgiving or Christmas, because I know little Johnny or Susie that's sitting on side of me probably won't have that. Yeah. So I say, what would you want to do for Christmas? And then even if it isn't happening, we can imagine, because there are Christmases I want, a Maserati when I walk outside. That's not going to happen, but I could dream with the kids.
Sure. Hey, for those teachers that, some of them are just, especially new teachers, they're thinking, oh my gosh, it is only November and I'm exhausted. We're not even close. We still have to get through Christmas and New Year's or spring break. They can't imagine making it to the end of the year. And so many are looking for ways to recharge over these few days, this week. And looking back, is there anything you wish you would have done different when you were first teaching? You're overwhelmed and trying to figure this career out and you're feeling unsuccessful. Looking back, what would you have done this week if you knew better?
Be honest with my about my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Been honest and did self-reflection. I do that as a principal now, but as a teacher, say I need to work on my yelling. I used to yell all the time, and people who know me now would never. I could yell and slam a door like no other teacher. One day I had
Yeah.
laryngitis and I couldn't talk. And so I went to work, and at that time we had overhead projectors. So I wrote, Mrs. George cannot talk. Please listen, I will write everything. And they were so quiet. So the next day I went in, same thing. So I started whispering as my voice was coming back, and they were so good. So I tell teachers now the analogy of in a supermarket. If somebody asks you, hey, could you give me that bottle of water off the top shelf? Or whisper in your ear, can you give me that bottle of water? Whispering. So I whisper to all the kids.
Yeah.
I don't raise my voice unless there's a concern. But if I had this self-reflection, I would have learned that yelling was not going to work because the kids always out yell adults. So self-reflection.
Yeah. I think, that's the part that's really hard, not just for young teachers, but for all teachers.
Mhm.
And, being self-aware and honest about where your weaknesses are and those areas that you would like to improve. And many times we talk to teachers, say, hey, how's it going? It's great. It's good. That's the standard answer, even though they could be struggling on the brink of a meltdown. Everything's fine. It's all good. And I think one of the reasons that it's hard for educators to ask for help is because in our business, the bottom line is the life of a child. And when you feel like you're struggling and you feel like you're weak and you feel like your classroom's out of control, I'm affecting a child's life, and the pain of that is so much. It's too painful to even face it. So they just say, I'm good. I'm fine. And they take the construction paper and they cut out that perfectly shaped rectangle and place it over the chicken wire window on their door and tape it up there so no one can see. But we all know what's going on.
Mhm.
And and maybe that's one of the magical things about your school is teachers are encouraged to talk openly about, when they struggle.
And they still struggle. I will tell you something a teacher told me that completely changed my life. And she said, I didn't mean for it to make you cry. When I taught summer school, well, I was the principal of a summer school. And so I was peeking in glasses like great administrators do. I was peeking in glasses in the little
Mm-hmm.
peephole and not disturbing because you don't want to disturb the teacher when you see something and you don't want the kids to lose focus. So you just peek in. And she saw me peep in and she opened the door and said, are you looking at the goldfish again? And I said, what goldfish? She said, that's what people do to goldfish. They watch them through the glass. They tap on the glass and watch them swim. I went back to my office and cried
Yeah.
because what you also don't do to a goldfish, you don't talk to it, you don't pick it up, you don't interact with it. And from this day, I've never peeked. It's been 3 years. I've never peeked in another classroom. I go in, if I look in your door, I'm going to open the door. I don't care if they're napping. I don't care if they're testing. I'm going in
Yeah.
because I won't forget that goldfish quote ever.
Yeah. And here's what Pat talking about is makes do you know Pat Gibson?
I don't,
Pat,
but I'm looking at her picture and I love it. Whatever it
yeah,
is, I just see lots of children.
makes me
Love
happy.
it.
Hear you greet everyone. Is that something standard procedure at your school? Is greeting kids coming in and teachers and all that?
Every single one. We have the librarian, the AP, myself, and every morning I don't make it out, of course, because I have parents, but we greet the kids. We hug them. If they don't want to hug, we high five, whatever they want to do. They want to tell us something, we kind of guide those emotions. So we stand on the sidewalk and greet everyone. I also go into the cafeteria. I walk the halls, try to tell my teachers hello. I also dance, run through the halls and dance on Fridays, but I want them to know that I don't like being in that office. If they could just shut my office off and make it in the classroom, that would be perfectly fine. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to be in there. But having your teachers see you all the time makes a difference. When I'm out on the campus, that's less discipline. When the kids know I'm out and about. So I try to be out and about as much as possible.
For sure, that is always a challenge of educators because when things get hard, it's a whole lot easier to blame you, the principal, than look at myself in the mirror and see what I'm doing wrong. So I can just easier to blame you. And if I don't see you around and you're holed up in the office, well, there it must be. It's her fault. She doesn't even know. She doesn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy story to tell to cover up what might need help with in my classroom, and also it creates that us and them dynamic, whether it really, for this whole thing to work, it really does need to be the family. It needs to be teachers, every adult, all the kids collectively together. And just like you talked about, yeah, we all have a different job title for sure, but it's all the same role, serving in the same role, every adult, and that is to make a difference in the lives of our kids. And
That's it.
when they have examples of that all around them, whether it's the custodian, the principal, the teacher, the secretary, the PEMS coordinator, whoever, it's all the same thing. And that's when it comes together like that. It's that synergistic effect that takes a school to another level.
Yes, and it has to be contagious. You just like negative positivity is the same way. So I'm always trying to encourage teachers do little small things. And as a principal, I always say they don't dislike me, they dislike the position. It could be any principal. It just comes with the I'm not inviting her to lunch. I'm not doing this because they need their privacy. And principals need to respect that. If teachers don't invite you to lunch, guess what? When I was a teacher, I didn't mind either because I had things to say. And I understand that about my teachers, but I really love each and every one of them. And I always tell them, I never want anybody to leave. Everybody adds value to that school. Every single person on that campus, everyone.
Yeah, it's
I think
true.
that
And provide,
we,
what it is, it's providing the evidence so that they can see the value that they bring.
yes,
And
I,
of all the things where in the schools that I visit, I just wish we could do a better job collectively across the nation, is providing educators with the proof that it's working, because they're all there.
mhm.
Like we're amazing at providing proof that the academics are increasing and attendance is up. We're good. We can collect the data, analyze it, synthesize it, distribute the data. We're awesome at that. But that's not really why educators sign up. They sign up to be the most influential adult in the lives of their kids. And when we can provide the evidence that's really happening, and look, here's the proof of that, that's when like you said, man, like that's when they get lit and there's the passion, that fire's there, and it transforms from a job to this family full of passion that's making a difference in the lives of these kids in their community.
Yes, and I just think that educators, we some people see us as um, daycare providers or something. We're not just there. We're doing so much more than just educating your child. We're tying their shoes, we're zipping their pants, we're fixing their buttons in pre-K, we're changing out dirty clothes if they have on a dirty shirt, changing their shirt out. We're listening to them cry. We're listening to their pain from home and saying, don't tell anyone. And it may not even be major, but to them, it's a secret. And it's just so much more. And I think if the world understood that teachers do so much more than just teach, that's the last thing we do. We do so much more because the kids won't learn from us if we don't love them. I say that all the time. You've got to love every single one of them. And you may not like them, but you've got to love them because they can definitely tell the difference.
He's such, and what I always tell teachers, if I said, man, if you don't deeply, deeply love who your kids are, you just don't know them. Like the more you know your kids, that's the only way you're going to love them. You just don't know them well enough. If once you get to know them, you're going to love them. That's how the whole thing works. And as you were describing what's happening in your school, what I would love people to know is, sure, you're in elementary school, but those exact same words could be said about any high school anywhere.
I was at an urban high school here in Beaumont, and was there for 2 years. And that's where my life changing experience came because guess what? Hell, in elementary school, they need you. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, Hal. Yeah.
Okay, Hell. My Louisiana accent will take things around the corner. Elementary kids, they want you, but high school kids need you.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference. Like little kids, they want you to come to school and they want you, but they don't understand the need. Like high school, and when I got to high school and saw some of my former scholars, the same behavior in high school, nothing had changed. I was like, that's embedded. So when I got back to elementary, I went, you know what? The same thing I said, because I will say, I'm disappointed. I'm never mad with a kid. They can slap the living snot out of me, and I'll say, I'm so disappointed,
Yeah.
because that touches hearts. That touches hearts. So disappointed and never mad.
Yeah. That's we always talk about, kids that when we are able to get in there emotionally, that's when we can have some real change within the kid. But when it's just about consequences, that's a logical approach to discipline and we always say they'll forever remember the conversation, but they're going to forget the consequences. That doesn't
Yeah.
stick. I mean, if that was true, if
Mm-hmm.
consequences worked, we wouldn't have a problem, because we have prisons and people think, well, I don't want to go there, so I'm just not going to do it. So consequences don't really, especially with kids, because they're not rational beings yet. Their brain isn't even developed. So yeah, it's really about how do we have an impact on that kid through the emotion of that child's heart.
You know what's the best sound I love to hear? Is a screaming kid that I've seen before, because I know they don't want to come back.
Yeah.
The consequence are because Dr. George is disappointed. As much as you hate to hear that, and I know who is coming. I said, oh, there he comes. I know exactly who that is. But they don't cry the first time they come. They don't cry. They just come in.
Yeah.
And you did something wrong. You have a discussion, and then they go to class. The second time, they're holding on to the doors like a cat trying to avoid a bath, because they don't want to come back in. And they may not be able to express that I don't want to hurt you again, but it's really what it is. No kid comes to school and says, you know what, I'm going to get in trouble today. I'm going to try my best to get suspended. They don't. I don't have one that comes to school, even in high school, with the intent to go home. And so there's something that's going on when you talk to them that happens that maybe makes that situation better. But I always tell the kids, no matter what they do, I'm on the floor and I'm, rolling around the floor with a kid, trying to keep them from running. And I say, you can make this better or worse right now. And then they'll look, make it better. Now you're still in trouble, but the punishment won't be as bad.
Right.
And so, but they have an opportunity even then to make it better or worse.
And even like in those moments, like that's when they realize, yeah, you're the principal, and yeah, you're the one that dishes out the punishment, and that's part of the school code. But it's an opportunity to let that kid know that you love them.
Yes, and I don't want teachers. I think last year I poured so much into the kids, the teachers thought I didn't love them. But I know if I pour so much into the kids, and they kind of started appreciating adults more, and because teachers are wonderful. And I know we see the meme all the time with the starburst and the teddy bear when the kid goes to the office and come back. But sometimes it's this moment with a kid that was a kid. She would curse all the time. She's my little hero story. And one time she got in trouble and she said, I don't want to see anybody but Dr. George. And she waited. And so when she came to me, she was able to let you 5 minutes, tell me whatever, and it doesn't go towards your consequence. So for 5 minutes, she went on and on. If I had listened to her, she would have been in a lot of trouble. But just get it off your chest so we can have a conversation. But it takes a little time. I don't like sending them home. I don't like putting them in ISS. I want them to be there, but I have to teach them, conflict resolution and, different things like that. It's not just about giving them a punishment.
Yeah. And so as you're going into this year, was that a conscious decision to pour just as much into your teachers in your home and drive family as your kids?
It was self-reflection.
Yeah.
I knew that I poured so much into the kids that this year and I'm not pouring nearly as much as the teachers deserve. But this year I get text messages from teachers. I get, how are you today? A little bit more. And so I'm forming relationships with them and letting them know when they come in and they fuss. There's one teacher. She's either Dr. George or Belinda.
Right.
Belinda. So, and it's okay. It's okay when I talk to the first name basis person. We have to know that they're human. And I think that's what teachers don't ever get to do is be human. You have so much to live up to, even as principals.
Yeah.
We have a high standard. High.
So true. And there's a friend of mine, and he was a principal at just a really challenging population in another state. And he said, in the schools I taught, I was a principal at before, we really could put kids first, but this is such a challenging demographic that we have in our school. Is what we do is we put our whole school family first. We put our teachers first, and we develop that relationship, because this population is way too hard. If there's a teacher out there on their own trying to have an impact on the 32 kids in their classroom, they're going to burn out. They're going to grind down. It's just not going to work. But if we're together as a family, as a school family, all of us connected collectively for our kids, that's when we can have the greatest impact.
Kids look for gaps,
Yeah.
and they look for holes. So kids will, if they see that there's a teacher that allows them to do more, before you know it, there comes the mom. I want them switched. I want them in such, what are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The kids, they look for gaps. They look for inconsistency. They look for relationships because when they do something, their eyes are going from the principal to the teacher, from the principal to the teacher, because they want to see where if there's a breakdown or something uneasy, they're going to play on somebody's emotions. So even if I don't agree with what the teacher did, I agree for that moment, because children, they look for those gaps. They can spot it before you can.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we have Charlotte talking about how like the importance of keeping babies in the classroom. Yeah, where they do, but as a school principal, there has to be those times where teachers are just so mad, and and they want to send that kid down, and they want that kid we want some punishment. I want that kid to suffer. Don't you send them back with a lollipop? So in those moments, is that a thing we have to counsel with the kid and the teacher?
I've done that before, but then sometimes that could make the teacher feel like I have to sit and listen to this kid.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing this. But most of the time, I'll give the kid a punishment. Then I'll call the teacher in and tell them from my point of view. And sometimes I'll tell them maybe it's something I knew about the kid. If I suspended them right now, they don't have anywhere to go, if they're suspended during the day. So, but most of the times teachers understand, in the state of we can't suspend pre-K through second anyway, and you can't put in a pre-K or an ISS. Are you kidding me?
Right.
That doesn't work. And so most of the time we'll have them in my office, the kid in my office. And sometimes that's all they need is a little bit of time away. And I tell my teachers, make sure you have the difference between I just need space and they really did something wrong, because there's a difference. If you just need time away from the kid versus I need a punishment, it's two totally different things, because they don't want them all.
Yeah.
They just sometimes need a little time.
I think that's pretty rare in terms of school leadership. Just in my experience, is having a principal that is so still connected to the kids and teaching in the classroom that they understand that sometimes, man, I just need a break. Give me 30 minutes. Can you keep him busy for 30 minutes so I can have a break and then send him back once I'm recharged? And just being honest about that, because it's true.
Yes. And sometimes you have that kid for 5 minutes and you're like, oh God, did you have 10 Red Bulls? But they need that time. The kid needs that time too. Yeah. Breaks for them when they're sitting there and they say, I didn't have my medicine. And you're sitting there and you're going, clearly, because you're like halfway up my body right now. Right. But it's those moments where I don't say sit down. I just let them just go, because if they want, nobody misbehaves in the principal's office. If you're doing that, clearly something is going on. Yeah. Clearly something is going on.
Hey, let me ask you this. For your campus over at Homer Drive Elementary, what are you excited about most right now as you guys are pushing into the second quarter of the school year?
Oh, just the growth. My teachers currently now are doing read alouds. And so they're reading to the kids more, exposing them to books more. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I see a cultural shift on my campus. And just, I can see like the end of the road where they're headed. And right now they're like in the curve. And I just can't wait till they get on and they see where everything came together. I can just see it. And there's such a great group of teachers. Oh my God. Don't anybody steal them. Right. Are amazing.
That's the danger when you start having success, when we have that growth, and people think, well, maybe if I could steal a teacher, they'll make my school like her school. But it's a whole package, man. It's everyone. When everybody people always ask me, like, what's the difference between those amazing schools and average schools? And the difference really is that every adult on campus is there to make the lives of everybody else even better. Like they're getting out of their cars, walking into the building, and they're thinking, how can I have an impact on the other adults in this building so we can serve our kids more effectively, more passionately? And that's it. And when that takes hold across a campus and across a culture, oh my gosh, it's just so fun and so inspiring to be a part of.
It is. You have to want to do it. Education is not one where you go like a construction worker. You wake up in the morning and go, oh, gotta go to work and do. No,
Yeah.
it's an option. Nobody can take your place. Like teachers are so amazing. They don't realize that nobody else can do their job. Not a sub, not even Dr. George. I went in a teacher's class and sub, and the kids going, "That's not how we do it. That's how we're doing it today."
Right.
Those teachers build a culture and climate that is so unique. And those kids may not abide by it, but the minute that teacher's gone, they want it just like she has it, just like she does. So I don't want teachers to give up, even though your kids aren't listening to you. When you're away, they want it just like it is when you're there. Exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that we forget the impact that we have on kids. They remember everything. When
Mhm.
I'm on the road, I'm in the airport. I talk to people sitting next to me, and I am always astounded by the minute details that they can remember. And this is a 43-year-old guy telling me about his third grade teacher, and he can remembers. I mean, the way she talks and how she to the coat she wore. He remembers everything. And that lets me
Yeah.
know, like, sometimes we forget the impact. I think we underestimate the impact we're having as adults.
And that is true. Hold on one
Yeah.
second. Melvin, sometimes I gotta get him. Could you bring me my charger? I don't want the computer to die. We've gotten too far. But you're absolutely right. Um, Principals have to remember that while they have a job to hand down and push down all these things, and if it's not something that wasn't your idea, but you have to share the idea.
Mhm.
Thank you. You have to share the idea, but you support your teachers. And if they say, I don't like doing this, you tell them, I understand, but we have to. And I think, excuse me 1 minute. I think as administrators, sometimes we lose our way with helping teachers with things like that. Now, there we go. We sometimes lose our way with helping teachers because we get caught up so much in the what, and we lose sight of the how and the why.
Yeah.
And teachers are amazing. I watch them come in the morning, and I watch them come to their car with their coffee that gets left in the coffee room because some kid needed them and it's cold at the end of the day. And some kids comes to the office, hey, I'm looking for Mr. Bowman's coffee. It's a pink cup
Right.
with a B on it. But teachers, they do so much. And we try to do morale boosters along the way. And I never can do enough. And I never can pour enough money into it to give them back, give them what they gave
Yeah.
me. I just think there's not enough money in the world, you know? And every day is a new day. So one day when I might give you all, a Hershey kiss, the next day a Hershey kiss won't cut it.
Yeah.
Won't cut it the next day. Nothing I give you on the whoop whoop wagon will matter. Days like that.
Is that what you call it? The woot woot wagon?
We had the whoop, yes, the whoop whoop wagon is we whoop
Yeah.
whoop. We go loud and we give them something off the card and try to encourage them. The other day they had our workout clothes because they were working so hard. And we gave them wear things with elastic because you'll be having snacks. And so we went around with the butter cookies and lots of things on the cart, and they were so excited and so appreciative.
Yeah.
And it just warmed my heart when you can give them something so small. I always say teachers are the cheapest dates. You can give them anything and they'll absolutely love it. But the thing is to give them something.
Yeah.
Something. And it can be, I've once wrote notes and put them on every one of their windshield. I got that idea off of someone had it on their windshields. And they came out and there was pictures all over Facebook where they tagged me. And so it doesn't always have to be money, but it has to come from the heart. It does. It has to come from the heart.
Yeah, that this is the hard business, and I mean, like the money part is cool. Like if there's something special we can buy, but there's not a teacher alive that thought, I'm going to get in this business because I'm about to get a paycheck and I'm about to woo woo wagons come. It really is. We can provide evidence, like we said, man, that if this thing is working and you're changing a kid's life, and this kid's life is going to be monumentally better because of the work that you do day in and day out in your classroom, we can give them that, it changes everything.
It does. And I just don't want teachers to give up. It's so easy to say I quit. It's so easy to say, because sometimes I will tell you a secret. On my worst days as a principal, I say, Dr. Jar speaking, welcome to McDonald's. How may I help you? I say that. I practice that because sometimes it gets that hard. But I want to encourage teachers not to give up. Your work is not done in vain.
Yeah.
And work together. You cannot do it by yourself. You have to use your team. You have to rely on your team. Your principal is there to support you, hopefully there to support you and guide you and support you with all of your efforts. But there's education is not an island at all. One school can't be on an island away from the whole district. We have to stop forming all these little islands. That's what happens. We have to kind of make a chain of islands and work together because guess what? The kid that left your school and came to mine, I want to be able to say, hey, did you have those problems there? So I just don't want educators, especially teachers, to give up and think education is changing so much. The kids are changing. It's too hard. There's too much because the world needs people like you. The world needs people like you. And teaching is not easy. It's one of the tough. It's up there with nurses and doctors. You're making critical decisions on a daily basis. I mean, just as much as recess, jacket, no jacket, determine an angry parent calling in the afternoon. So we're constantly thinking and watching and knowing that that parent doesn't want that kid to eat this and try. It's a lot, and we have a lot to be responsible for. And I really think that people in education are really angels on earth. They really are.
That is when we talk about teacher tired, it's really the trifecta of tired. Yeah, like I'm not saying this is physically demanding, like we're one of those fishermen up in Alaska on the boat. It's not like that kind of physically tired, but it's physically tiring, of course. In addition to that, it is that combination of the intellectual exhaustion because we make thousands of decisions every single day that we know changes the trajectory of a kid's life. Like the simplest decision. Yes, you can. No, you can't. In a moment, like that right there is a shift in the trajectory. And that kid, it's going to affect them one way positively or negatively. It's the pressure and the emotional exhaustion because of the stories with which these kids come to class. And every teacher, especially in certain demographics like that I've taught and which I've taught and kind of was my specialty, these kids come to the stories, like people wouldn't believe the challenges that these kids have at home, and the few hours we have them on campus really are the best hours of their life.
Yes, and they want to tell their story, but they're afraid
Yeah.
because if they you don't have the same thing going on. I will tell you, we had some. I don't remember what we were having, but we jail came up in an assembly for whatever reason, and I said my dad had been to jail. And so a couple of kids raised their hand, and then the hand started going up. Mine too, mine too. And after assembly, they came and said, why did your dad go to jail? Did he do this? And I said, no, it was a long time ago. I said, but people make mistakes and they learn from it. But that was a connection because as educators, we want children to see us in the now and not the then. And kids relate to the then because they're not where you are
Yep.
now. Me saying I flunked out of college or me saying I signed my mom's signature on a deficiency slip before, which is same as a progress report, they go, oh, you did that? Yes, I did because it was for a B minus. Your mom was mad about a B minus. It just makes their problem seem so much smaller, but we have to tell them that we were kids too and we made mistakes. We talked in class. God, listen to us. We were probably talkers in
Right.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, this is why I'm so excited about what you have going on and the trajectory of Homer Drive Elementary, because of the fact that as a school leader, you get it, you've been there, what the challenges are, you know these kids and you love them relentlessly, and that has spilled over into the culture of your school, and your staff and the team that you've created is amazing. And I'm so thankful that community and that school have you and your whole crew.
Oh, well, thank you. And I mean, you were there for
Yes.
convocation. We all, sat in convocation and listened to you. We went back and reflected. But I tell you what, if people don't start realizing how much teachers do, and whoever is helping these teachers on Help a Teacher page, thank you so much. I mean, I'm not a teacher, but when you help a teacher, you definitely help the principal. So even though we don't get things directly, if my teacher says I need something and it's given to them, then it helps me. It takes a lot of pressure
Yeah.
off. Thank you to those of you that are helping.
It's an amazing page, and it really is a testament to how deeply teachers care about their kids, and in addition to that, how deeply people care about teachers and how much they're willing to help. And I love it. I love just what has have been created by the Help a Teacher page. It's so beautiful.
It is. And people need to forget, and teachers are a forgotten tribe. And sometimes it feels that way, that people have forgotten about teachers.
Yeah.
They've, they've, they're not valued as much as when I was in school. And they need to be valued even more because the children, the shift, the things, the way the world has shifted. And so it's even more, the value on teachers is just unimaginable. And I mean, the love that Homer Drive gets from people outside, from you and other people that have made such an impact in education, is just amazing. So sometimes I feel like we must be, well, a lot of times I feel like we must be doing something right because people don't talk to people they don't want to learn from.
Yeah.
So
You,
that's amazing in
I'm here
itself.
to tell you on behalf of everyone, you're doing a whole lot right, and it's exciting to see, and it's inspiring, and thank you so much for spending time this evening. And you're donning your special outfit tonight. You're tucked in Tuesday's best, and for people that have questions or want to get in touch, can they do that through the Homer Drive Facebook page? Is that the best place?
Homer Drive, all you do is send me an inbox. I get them, and there's not one message in there that I don't respond to.
Yeah.
So if there's a Homer Drive Facebook page, you can send me a message inbox in there, and I'll answer questions that you have questions about. I also have an Instagram page, but it's really my page, not really the schools. I'll put some school stuff on there, but really the Homer Drive Facebook page is where I answer a lot of questions and share a lot of things about our campus.
All right. Dr. Belinda Richardson George, thank you so much. Have an amazing week, and reflect on all that you're appreciative for in your school and your life. And I appreciate you being on tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Take care. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.